score. They tie the game up 2-2.
Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Thea Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse.
Wow.
5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls off. And Arizona State wins it. Edwards pulls off. And buries the puck.
Daniels makes the shot for Kirby.
Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. I am Michael Carrotino at Diablo00 is where you can find me on Twitter. And yes, you'll notice the background, which means it is Wednesday. Well, not it's always Wednesday, but it is Wednesday. And I am out here at Desert Financial Arena, the home to the, Sun Devil women's volleyball team, Sun Devil men's and women's basketball team. But yes, it is volleyball season. And I am very stoked to be here today, as we will get to a lot to get to, as the Sun Devils are volleyball again 21-3, 9-3 in conference play, and when the recent rankings, you Pitchfork Lunch fans should remember from yesterday, that in the recent rankings, the Sun Devils jumped to number 15 from number 21. So that is, of course, very awesome. We're out here, but we get to talk to the AVCA National Player of the Week, Marta Levinska, who, yes, I've talked about what she's done, and I'm sure she will echo the point that the way the team is playing, and again, nothing is ever easy, but just the fifth. Nothing is ever easy, but she took National Player of the Week from the AVCA in a sweep over Cal, and then the 3-0 sweep over Stanford on Sunday, the third-ranked Cardinal at the time. They have dropped to number 5 in the country, but nonetheless, a phenomenal season so far, and of course, capped off by a national, last week capped off by being named the National Player of the Week. So Marta Levinska, again, who's been dominant this year, but again, playing within the team's parameters. And when we look at it this year for Marta, like I said, 300 and kills. 362. Sorry. I was like, the numbers are going crazy. 362 kills for this team this year, leading the team. Last season, for the whole season. I meant to mention this yesterday. And last season, kill-wise, she had 412, and which is a ton. And then she was right behind Iman Isanovich, who had 421. They were their big leaders. Jelly Sear last year had 225. She already has more than this year. But Marta Levinska, like I said, this year having 368. So she's yes, on pace to go, or 362, and she had 412 last year. Jelly Sear said at 225. She's at 228, 3 more kills than last year. So again, you just see in a team 13 and 19 last year. I mentioned it, but now 21 and 3. And again, we'll get her thoughts, obviously, on the season. You know, would it just be named a National Player of the Week? And that's the 5th time in Sun Devil volleyball history. That a player has been named National Player of the Week. Yes, there have only been 5, which to me is absolutely crazy. Again, tough to do, and a talented conference, and I've said that from the beginning, up and down throughout the years, but knowing the players that have come through here and yeah, just sorry, pardon me, just the 5th player to be named National Player of the Week. And again, not an easy thing to do. It's not like just, oh, here, everybody gets a National Player of the Week. No, I am not saying that also. Yes, let's not get carried away there. I am not saying that at all. But yeah, I'm definitely not saying that at all. But yeah, I mean, just 5 in the history of it, the first since 2021, so it hasn't been that long. But yeah, the list is again, the fact that she did it, and yes, just what she means to this team, but how the team is playing too. And I've talked about it, how coaches coach them all year long, and how they've, got in a groove into what he wants to do in playing, like we've said, fast offense. So yes, we will get to Marta, talk more volleyball as they get set to head to the LA schools this weekend as they take on UCLA first, and then they will take on USC on Sunday. So that the Friday tomorrow, I keep saying tomorrow, thinking tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow's only Thursday. So the Friday game against USC is at 6:00, and then local time. Yes, because time does change this weekend. Not for anybody here in Arizona, so you don't have to worry about messing with your clocks. But yeah, time does change this weekend. But so SC, before it changes, at 6 p.m. local time here on Friday. I'm sorry. UCLA is first. I was looking at the last time USC was in town, and ASU won at 5. UCLA, 7 p.m. local time on Friday is when they are taking on UCLA. So 7 p.m. Sorry, forget everything else I said before that pertaining to the game. Not everything else I said before that, just pertaining to the game. So 7 p.m. Friday, they take on the Bruins first, which, again, they swept them here 3-0 last time. So Bruins looking for a little revenge, as we all know. And a team with revenge can be, yes, tough to deal with, but they've answered a lot of bells this year, as we know. So that is Friday at 7 p.m. and then Sunday at 3 o'clock local time, 2 o'clock there in California. That is when they will take on USC. And that's actually going to be on the Pac-12 networks. So you can check that out Sunday at 3 p.m. as they are in LA. So that being said, yeah, so very stoked for that. And then also this weekend, well, Friday night, I shouldn't say this weekend, but Friday night, soccer has to travel down to play our rivals, that team down south, which, again, overtake the stadium. So that game is, like I said, Friday. That date I have right. I'm not steering you wrong there, and I'm going to make sure, double check the time for that game. Yes, 7 p.m. down in Tucson, taking on that team down south. So, nonetheless, big matchup. Again, coming off, I mean, it's their longest losing streak of the year, which is crazy. 3 games. I had the 1-0 loss to UCLA, which, again, in the 89th minute, still stings. Has to sting the players too, but they're not allowed to. They can only. They have 24 hours to get that out of the system, so I can't blame. Coach for that. Well, any coaches for saying that, because yeah, you want to. And then they fell to Utah 2-0, and then the weather delay, and cold or not, you got to play. But Colorado, I mean, neither team scored in the first half. It was an ASU kind of game in the first half. No, well, they couldn't score, but no goals either way. And but they didn't score, but they held Colorado off the scoreboard. Huge. And this defense, like I talked about, has done it all year. I know the injury to Levinska Carlier against UCLA, very, very tough. But again, it'll be interesting to see how they adjust and what they adjust to. But again, going out of Tucson, taking on, yes, I will say Arizona before the game, but taking on Arizona. So big matchup there is, again, getting set for postseason, which is a team to me that has definitely earned it. And yes, of course, to overstate the obvious, you love to go into the postseason with a victory. I know that. I understand that. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that look, just played defense all year, and I mean, that's the most goals they've given. First time they've given up back-to-back games. First time they've given up multiple goals in back-to-back games. So that is crazy. I mean, that is phenomenal. But like, you just don't, like, they've outscored their opponents this year 29-15. Assist-wise, 31-14. Corner kicks, they're trailing in that 93-78, and penalty kicks, they are 1 for 1. Their opponents, that's UCLA, is 0 for 1. So, you look at individually, Anasia Cologne still leading the team with 9 goals, but you've got a lot of players that have obviously chipped in on the scoreboard. And, Emmy Simpson got her first this year. Levinska Carlier, unfortunately banged up, had a goal. Hannah LaPierre had 2, has 2 so far. Valancourt with 2, and then you have Gabby Rennie with 3. Ella Ogfitney with 3, and then Savannah Maley and Suzuka Yosue with 2, Carrie Matthews with 3, and then, like I said, Anasia Cologne with 9. So, again, just moving the ball around, not bad at all. And then for Pauline Nels, their goalkeeper, I mean, she started all 19 games. Yes, she's allowed 15 goals. She's had 78 saves. She's 10-5-4, 9 shutouts on the season, 9. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're going to have games where some teams just have the answer, and that's what Colorado had in the second half. But this is a team, look, and that's, like I said, the first time in back-to-back games that they've given up multiple goals this season. And I love what Coach Winkler said about, like, when we talked to him about the team, just how he's coaching them. And I mean, he's a fiery coach, which of course you love to see, but not like rah-rah in your face, I'm saying, or, intense in your face all the time. But he definitely goes to bat, for his team, but they play a certain style and they've grown into it this year. And I mean, they have definitely suffocated the back third for many teams. So yes, they do play a very beautiful style and a beautiful style of the game. And and it's not boring. It's not just, they're not just packing it in. I mean, they are, if teams want to counter, they can try to counter, but it's again, it's one of those things where it's tough if you're just constantly relying on your counter. If you pack it in against them and play defensive, and we've seen that. So I'll get to that too. Also, football, like I said, they're headed to Utah. Utah's going to be very ornery after last week's, beatdown they took from Oregon, who, again, Oregon lost to Washington. And since then, they've turned around and beat Washington State and beat Utah. But for the Devils, they have a chance to beat they do have a chance to beat Utah. Again, it's going to take effort. The Oregon game was still physical. It's just that Oregon's defense, was very physical. But, of course, the first college football rankings came out. I'm not going to derail the show by going off on who's number one when they mention, strength of record, and then talk about some team schedules. But, yes, I know the team that's number one did beat Notre Dame, with 10 men on the field, and then beat Penn State, who obviously couldn't run the ball. So the Ohio State defense played well there, but whose offense was just atrocious. So really, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, I digress. They're in Utah, so that is going to be a physical game. We'll hear from a little bit from Coach Dillingham, and then Shamari Simmons. I got to catch up with him after practice, who's had a awesome season so far, and Coach Ward. He spoke obviously after practice as well. So, but yeah, Utah again. Even if it's in the 60s, start of the game was at noon. So hopefully, noon there local time. So the good news is, hopefully, as the game goes on, it'll get, warm up a teeny bit, but, it's not going to be 80 degrees during the day or, high 70s like it is here in Phoenix right now. But it is 80 today. So, yes, I know. Don't complain about weather if you're watching this out of state, which few of you are. You don't want me to complain about weather. But anyway, we shall step aside here on a Pitchfork Lunch. And when I get back, we will hear from Coach Dillingham out at practice today, Coach Ward, and Shamari Simmons. All right, back here on Pitchfork Lunch. I am Michael Carasino at Diablo00 is where you can find me. Also, you can see the show live on Twitter, Facebook, but the YouTube, guys, all the shows are there. If you've missed interviews, I mean, of course, we're going to have another big one today, or another fun one, big one. They're all big because they're Sun Devils, and we know that obviously rules. That being said, go to the YouTube. Go to my YouTube. It's M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC 005 on YouTube. Subscribe. You can go back and check out all the shows if you missed any interviews, if you missed the funness that was ASU baseball on Halloween, or the day before Halloween, I should say, on the 30th. Willie Bloomquist, again, they had a costume. They had a costume scrimmage, and yeah, the players were all in. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, that's up there too. So you can, again, subscribe to the YouTube at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. You get to see all the shows, like them, watch them, share them, all that good stuff. It's phenomenal. And any questions, any thoughts, hit me up on Twitter, as you see there, at Diablo00 on Twitter. Yes, I had that handle long before I started the show because, yes, there was a lot of Sun Devil ones there, and I had to mix it in. So there you go. I went with Devils. But anyway, football, like saying, taking on Utah. I mean, if we look at the standings in the Pac-12, it is at top. It's a little bit of a traffic jam, mind you not. The Huskies, they are 5-0 in conference play, 8-0 in overall. And then they're followed by the Trojans, Ducks. The Trojans are 5-1. The Ducks are 4-1. Oregon State's 3-2. Utah's 3-2. Arizona, the team down south, is 3-2. And yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. But they are 3-2, and then you have Colorado, Cal, ASU, and Washington State all at 1-4. Stanford, the Cardinal, they are at 1-5 overall. So yes, that is the standings. But ASU getting that first conference win, going to 2-6, taking on Utah again, who's 3-2, number 18 in the country, 6-2 overall, which, again, not bad, but just not, like I said, shocked that they lost to Oregon, just shocked in the manner. Not that I didn't think Oregon could be physical, but again, it's wow. So Washington, Washington battled their offense, and ASU's battled Oregon's defense, pretty well. And ASU's defense, of course, by some saying, oh, well, their games against ASU. Well, ASU's defense is pretty good. Pretty good. When I say pretty good, I'm talking really good. I'm just, understating it for a reason. But anyway, so those are the standings in the Pac-12. The Devils looking to get their second win and then improve to 3-6 overall, which Rice Eccles is going to be very, very tough to do. But it can be done. That can be done, as we all know. So, yes, I said that we would hear from Coach Shillingham today, just talking about while I had him, just again this matchup with Utah, and what it's gonna look like, and how his guys have played so far to this point. But it's a man, like I said, he's I'm talking about the the energy of practice as well too. So without further ado, here is Coach Shillingham from today's practice.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it'll be a great challenge for our guys. New environments, I think that's one of the best parts. Everybody talks about the tradition of leaving the pack, and yeah, there is great tradition that I've been a part of, and there's a part of you that's sad. But there should be a big part of the fan base that says, man, I get to watch teams at home that we have never got to see ever. I get to go on the road and travel to places that I've never traveled to in my entire life. So there's the other side of it that says, man, let's create new traditions. Let's create new traditions as Sun Devil fans, as football teams. Opportunity. I looked at it. They showed me this morning when I knew we were going to get a schedule release. They showed me this morning right before we headed out, we got it sent over. So I got to see it for a half second before I got out on the field. So it was good.
What about where you guys are here a couple days before the game?
Yeah, our guys are learning how to practice. I'll say that. I told them that the other day is we're actually practicing like a team that I think has a chance to compete and win. Right? We were always practicing well, but there's a difference. There's a different energy and purpose when you practice. I think how we just practiced the last 2 days, and at least I'm more privy a little bit to the offense right now. But just watching special teams, watching pre-practice, watching all those periods, I just think we're practicing with a little bit more urgency on both sides of the ball.
Probably just part of the process, but what was it like to kind of have 3 of your guys on the last week as Pac-12
Yeah, I say, everybody, today's world, everybody wants to make it about their own Instagram, their own Twitter, their own awards, right? Well, the only way to get those is to win. So if you're so wrapped up in yourself and self-success that it takes away from winning, then you're actually hurting yourself. Because the easiest way for yourself to get your own recognition is for the people around you to succeed and for you to win. And if you win, you're...
All right, so that was Kenny Dillingham. By the way, the first part of that, sorry about that. My audio and the interview cut out. But the first part of that, in which you heard, he's talking about their schedule for next year, because the Big 12 did release it. And the away games, they are at Arizona, at Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Cincinnati are all on the road. Then they're home for BYU, Utah, KU, and UCF. So that's next year. And but yeah, so BYU comes here, Utah comes here, Kansas comes here, and UCF comes here. So that is yeah. So that's 9, and 3 out-of-conference games. So, again, we'll see how soon it is before they schedule, if they work something out with a UCLA or something like that. But, moving forward, our coach said it right there. It is exciting to get to go to new places. Yes, it still is tough that when it cut out, there's no more Pac-12 and the rivalries and just the games. And, the venues. And it's not just football. All sports, just the venues and, football, basketball, baseball, obviously too. And volleyball, obviously a lot of them playing in the same gyms as basketball, but still it's so crazy to me that and frustrating that there's still no Pac-12 next year. Again, trying to get used to it, but no Pac-12 next year. So that's what, Coach, he said he got to look at it for a second, and was able to look at it. But yeah, no, a lot of guys won weekly awards, but again, it's a team thing, and he talks about that. That's what he was talking about. It's in this day and age, your Instagram, all this stuff. If you want the awards, you have to win. And they won, and yes, it's obviously awesome. But yeah, I'm getting ready for Utah. He was talking about that and a little bit of next year's schedule. But yes, he is. He said I looked at it for 2 seconds and then thought about that, and that was that. So, but defensively, again, it's going to take another effort like Washington, even though they didn't win in Washington, but also with Washington State and Cam Ward. That young man played a heck of a game. Played one heck of a game, and he's had just a great a season and a half so far at Washington State. And even talking to Brian Ward, which we'll hear from him, and I'll get to that after Shamari Simmons. But yeah, no, this defense is definitely going to have to step up and be physical, and turnovers, and they have been physical the whole season and the last few weeks. It's come to fruition even more. They've been doing it all year. And then, yes, they got banged up, had some injuries, as we've known. And, Coach Ward's had to mix some things up. But for somebody like Shamari Simmons, who's the kid with his elbow injury, I know I described it a while back, and I'm not going to go through it again. It did not look pretty when he happened in practice. And he played the next game. So, he's just gone forward, and Coach Dillingham called him a warrior. Coach, Ward's called him a warrior, but just the way he's played, what he means to this team on the field. And yeah, he shows out. So I got to catch up with him a little bit, and just talking about obviously what the defense has done and what it's, going to take to match Utah's offensive intensity, physicality from that section. So without further ado, here is Mr. Shamari Simmons. Okay, so I got to start with, obviously you guys came off. You guys have been practicing hard all year. The wins didn't come in, but coming back to practice this week off a win, the energy's still there. Is it almost kind of like the intensity's still there, but just kind of an exhale after getting that dub?
Yes, it feels great just to get a win, and we just want that same feeling again. So it's just, we know we got to come out here with some juice. When we come to practice, just come prepared. So if we want the same result as last week.
And then, obviously, playing in Coach Ward's defense has been very fun for a lot of guys. I know Coach Dillingham always says if you're a defensive end, you want to play this. But when he sent you on those timely blitzes, you've gotten through. How much more excited does that make you when he's calling a blitz for you?
It made me very excited, because, Coach Ward does a great job just scheming everything up. And, every time I run it, I just come free. So I just know whenever he calls it, he sees something that he sees that can take advantage, and I just got to execute.
And then I didn't really talk to you after the Washington game, but obviously 2 interceptions in that game, 4 turnovers, the interceptions finally coming. Asking Coach, it always seems like they start coming in bunches, but was that like another relief for the DB room with you and Rowe getting a pick?
Yeah, it was, but we just knew our time was going to come eventually, because, we work hard and we just get turnovers at practice, so we just knew, they was going to come. And as soon as we got the first one, I thought about Coach Ward just saying they come in bunches. So as soon as we got the first one, we was able to get more.
And then looking to this Utah game, obviously they're going to come in pretty ornery and PO'd with what happened to them last week against Oregon. But when you look at this Utah offense, what challenges do they present?
They just, not just offense, but just as a team, as a culture, they just come physical, and it's just, for me, just knowing that they come physical, I already know what my mind's already made up on how the game's gonna go. So it's just gonna be a real physical game.
And then in a game like that, where they're obviously, and I asked Coach Dillingham yesterday, where they're known to be physical, how big is it for you guys to, yes, match their physicality, but stay within your game plan while doing it, not trying to overdo it too much?
Just playing a team that's physical, you for sure got to match them, but you also got to work on your scheme. Just the same technique doesn't change, but it's just knowing that they're as physical as they can be, you definitely got to match or be as much as physical as them.
So there, you heard it from him. You got to match that physicality, and it's it has to be done, yes, within game plan, yes, stay within the system. And, I asked Coach Ward about that, and I asked Coach Dillingham, like I said, that's why I asked Coach Dillingham that yesterday, you don't want your team to overdo it, but at the same time, they have to know that they know it's going to be a physical game and stay within the game plan and match the physicality. Yes, easier said than done, but yeah, so, and again, the way he's played, the blitz he had on Cam Ward last week on the goal line, even though he didn't he didn't sack him. He forced Ward to chuck the ball away, which was awesome because it just led to a Washington State field goal attempt, which they made, but still not a touchdown. And it was, again, a great chess match. Obviously, they're familiar with Coach Ward. Coach Ward's familiar with ASU's defense coordinator. He's familiar with the Washington State offense. So, yeah, the first half to second half, it was a great chess match. But, yes, so now we shall hear from Sun Devil defensive coordinator Brian Ward. And yes, without further ado, here he is talking about his team's defense.
Any about Deshaun Mallory's impact that he's had so good against Washington and really throughout the year. What stood out to you about what he's done?
Deshaun is just he's an explosive player. He really doesn't say a whole lot. He just comes to work every day. He's just a lot of fun to coach. We've gotten really close with him, and he's a guy you can just depend on every day. And he's going to be what we want our defensive tackles.
What makes him so disruptive?
You know, he's a phenomenal athlete for how big he is. He's super explosive. He's really been developed. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell he plays like a 22, 23-year-old guy who has a lot of experience.
Coach Dillingham has talked about the importance of physicality in this game. You guys have really established physicality up front. How do you keep that going in the game on the side?
Yeah, we're going to be tested. I mean, we are going to be tested. You know, they're going to have some pounds on us, but you know, we make up for it by being by trying to be explosive inside. I mean, Deshaun and CJ fight. Fortunately, we don't have Pete this week, but Tristan Monday and Blazing Monomo's been coming along a lot. He got 9 snaps this last weekend. We're going to depend on him a little more. So those interior guys got to be very, very disruptive. And when we've played great against the run, those guys have been the most disruptive. And then our edges, have to they have to be able to disguise their movements, to be able to play physical on the edges. But we got to set the edges for those on those tackles. And we're going to have a work cut out for them. I mean, they're a run team. They can. Cal ran the ball at us a little bit, but that was kind of symptomatic too. We had some injuries at the end of that game, so we were down to some of our 3s and 4s at the end of that game, and we came up with a stop at the very end. But we're going to be tested.
How much do they play off each other? I mean, obviously the defensive line, they want to do their jobs, be disruptive, but when somebody gets a sack, how much is it for that next guy to just go out there and get the sack and then just kind of building off what each other does?
You can see the energy that when things, it's funny you asked that question, I was literally thinking about it on my drive home last night. And, the difference between just getting a team off the field on third down or being productive on a first or second down play, I mean, you see the energy it brings when we get a sack or we get a big hit on the quarterback or when we're disruptive, we get a TFL. It just gives us so much momentum. And, it's my job as a play caller to be able to build on that momentum and put our guys in the right situation. But ultimately, like I've said it 100 times, there's no magic in the call sheet. If those guys execute the calls at full speed and with confidence, there's no telling what we can do and how successful we can be.
Kenny said on Monday that ASU is the place you want to play if you're a defensive lineman because free, fast, go get the quarterback. What's your perspective on just him saying that and then just like what you guys have been able to demonstrate in this defense?
I mean, all you got to do is go down the roster. DJ Green had, I think, 3 to 5 career sacks up to this point. He already has more than he's had his whole career through the first 8 games. And you look at guys like Prince Norba. He played 2 years in Texas. He was seldom used. Didn't have a sack in 2 years there. He's tied for has a team lead in sacks. I don't know where he's at. He's at 5 or 6 or whatever. Then you get Clayton Smith. He's going to spend a year or 2 at Oklahoma when he comes here. Like, you look at our whole roster, and you look at our defensive line, and it just shows you what these guys are able to come here and do, and to be as disruptive as they've been up to this point. I'm just really excited for their development, and also people we can add in the future.
And this is your hometown, and you're doing it in the first year here. So what does that say to the prospects for the future?
I mean, Phoenix is a great place to live. Just the Phoenix metro area, there's a lot of great people here, and I know that because I have a 30-year history, 35-year history. It's actually 38-year history. Just dating myself. But I've been around here a long time, and I've seen the metro area grow, and I just see how much this place really does love football, and how active the high school community is in football, and how important it is. I played here, played junior college ball here, and then I moved on, and it's been a place I've been able to come back to, and I know what this place can be, and that's what that was just what was so exciting about coming back home, and it's what's exciting about standing here in front of you guys here, on these practice fields, and all the players that have been here, and all the history that's just right here in front of us. So sometimes you take it for granted because you're here every day, and I'm sure our players do at times, but if they don't appreciate it now, one day they will. Looking back on it like I do, and just appreciate every day here.
And you heard him right there. Sorry about the little cutout there, but that is Brian Ward, the defensive coordinator for the Sun Devils, and he's done a hell of a job. As you know, he's a defensive coordinator because I have let you know that. But yeah, I mean, he talks about it there, and that's why I asked about defense on playing off each other. He said, even when he was asked about, Deshaun, but Prince and, guys that have been in other schools, and Clayton and his numbers, have been at other schools for a while. And, they come here and all their sack numbers are up. And yes, you have to do your job right. It is matchups, and you have to dictate tempo, which of course there's an offensive line across from you that is trying to shove you, just get you off your spot just a little bit to go back and forth. So yeah, it's one of those things where that's why I asked me, how do they play off each other? And I mean, to see what Prince Dorbit has done, and Coach Dillingham, answered that last week too. He goes, his confidence. He goes, he's in the system, but it's just more and more and more and more. And within the system, and it's one of those things where if they're not doing their job like that, and again, just trying to make crazy super plays, it's one of those things where it can mess up the whole scheme and what coach has them doing. So yeah, that's just that's just awesome to me, because them playing off each other and saying, just them thinking about it and being like, hey, what is the next what's the next the challenge. And obviously with Utah coming in, but just the fact that he said, I mean, playing junior college ball, he played for GCC, played for Coach Kirsting, and it's one of those things where but he talks about just being here and being back home. And you heard Coach Dillingham say the other day, he obviously wants to say that coach, but he wants to keep Coach Ward here as defensive coordinator for a very long time with him, because they can just grow to levels. And look, everybody's got, goals and stuff. And for, somebody were to come after, Coach Ward for a head coaching job, would not be surprised. I would just, revert him back to what he just said today about being here and living here. But no, I mean, look, this defense done a, phenomenal job. Vince Amy and, Charlie Regal, with the defensive line, and then AJ Cooper, obviously with the linebackers, Coach Carrington with the defensive backs. I mean, just the way that they've, grown in this system. I mean, coming in with confidence in the defensive line. I mean, from the beginning of fall camp, completely got after it. Completely got after it. And, it's one of those things where with them doing that and growing and having the confidence in the system and everything, it's one of those things where when you play in tough games and you're doing that, you just draw from practice. And, I mean, football, and I mean, a lot of coaches have said this, but I remember, Herman Edwards saying, it's one sport you literally practice more than you play. You spend more time, obviously, in practice than you do in games. So it's to me, it's one of those things where you're definitely gonna play like you practice. If it has to become muscle memory, yes, you have to be able to adjust on the fly. And Coach Ward, even walking out of practice, talking to him, saying, in the second half, in the first half, they knew I was going to do some things in certain situations. I had to do it, but in the second half, it just became adjustments. And Cam Ward in the first half of that game, you saw what he did. So, he was able to convert some third downs, and coach is like, yeah, you're going to take your shots, but if you don't get there, and he fit some balls into some tight windows too. Cam Ward had a phenomenal game. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like very, very tough, but they were able to adjust and do it on the fly, and defense has done it all year. So going to take a quick break. When we get back, we will be joined with National Player of the Week here on Pitchfork Lunch. I love it. It's a Homer show, and we can do this, and the talent is here at ASU. So like Coach Ward said, come to ASU. More coming up, though, here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratino at Diablo00, but the most important person on the screen is the AVCA National Player of the Week from Sun Devil Volleyball, the fifth in history. Okay, first of all, thank you for joining me on Pitchfork Lunch here, but obviously a great honor. To be on this Pitchfork Lunch is an ASU show, but I know the talent alone in this conference and across the country, but wow, to only be the fifth player in ASU history. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. I didn't know that it was that was only the fifth. And yeah, it's really a good feeling to feel recognized and our team being recognized. And obviously without them, I wouldn't have received this award if we wouldn't have beat Stanford. So yeah, it feels really good that, all the hard work is kind of coming back to us, and, we feel that we're being recognized. So, yeah.
And it's awesome that you say that, because I've always heard coaches and players, no matter what sport, throughout the year saying, if they win an individual award, it is a team award. Right. The fact that yes, the record, yes, the teams you beat this year from even just from last year to this year, but to do it with this group, it seems like a pretty fun group. I hear there's quite a few jokesters on the team. There's comedians, and we have pun artists and stuff like that, but just the way you guys play on the court and get along off the court. But something like this, yes, it is individual, but if your team isn't playing the way they are, then it's pretty tough for you to get an award.
Exactly. Yeah. It depends on the pass. Like Shannon's the setter, she's setting me, it depends on the set. So totally, it's just such a chain of, reaction and things. And yeah, I'm just super, super happy about our team, and our chemistry is awesome this year. And just I love all of them. And I think this is a really special year for us.
And then obviously I talked to Coach, but asking the other players that have been on, like Mary and Roberta and Jelly and Claire, just having your whole at a conference on the road. How big, when you look back on it now, yes, the team is, you're going to bond, you're going to be together, but how big was that, do you think, for you guys up to this point in your journey, just to have all the at a conference on the road and just like to grow and become the team that you guys are right now?
Right. I think that time was really important for us. It definitely wasn't easy. And, being on the road for 5 weeks is really hard on you mentally and physically. And I think we also just really needed that time to just even develop more as a team, just because like in the spring, there was like 9 of us. And then we have all these new people. So honestly, that first part of the season was kind of just us kind of getting that connection going with each other. And yeah, so that was a crucial part of our season. And yeah, I think we really kind of learned how to be resilient and keep pushing through.
Yeah, those are long road trips. Obviously Flagstaff wasn't too bad, like I was talking to you before we started, but Florida Gulf Coast, and then obviously Memphis. But again, it brought you together. And I've asked the other girls, to do this, to have this kind of season, which of course you're playing to win, but the 50th anniversary of Sun Devil, ASU having volleyball, and you've gotten to interact obviously with former players, coaches, and just see them involved like at games, and a lot of alumni throughout the years have come to games. But how cool is it to be a part of the team this year for the 50th anniversary?
Yes, I feel like it's such a, I don't know, like a full circle moment almost feels like. And yeah, and just me and my roommate, we thought about it, and we were like, wow, it's the 50th anniversary. This is like the best year we've definitely had as individuals here. And honestly, probably one of the best we've had. So it's just like, wow, like, I don't know, I felt like it was meant to be. And I don't know, yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Believe me, big fan of having seen you guys play. And okay, so volleyball is the biggest sport. Having talked to your teammates and the years I've called games and cover, it is truly short-term memory. Like if you have a bad point, whatever, forget it, shake it off. Because if you hang your head, like 4 points could go by, and all of a sudden you're like, we're in a hole. But when you look at how this team is built, and what obviously JJ coming in as a new coach, but like how this team has grown and built, what is like, and the revenge factor, I brought that up because obviously you lose to Stanford on the road there in 3. They come here and you beat them in 3. When you're trying to have short-term memory, you're putting it out of it, but before you play that team again, how much of the last match is kind of lightly in your mind?
Yeah. The first message when we played against them, they played really well, and we did not play well. And I think that was just like a big difference. We were like, okay, we didn't really push back against them that much. They feel comfortable. So this time around, we just have to make them really uncomfortable. Serve tough. We basically did all the things we didn't do the first match. So then I think kind of shook them a little bit. So yeah, kind of just being super aggressive and not being scared and kind of playing all out.
Exactly. I always had a coach say, respect the team you're playing. Do not let them be up any kind of points before you even step on a court, field, anything. When you, I see you're a psychology major, right?
Yeah.
How much does that benefit you on the court?
I have learned a lot, just how to manage my own feelings on the court, and how to like manage maybe some teammates, like understand people better, where they're coming from, kind of empathize with people. So yeah, it's played a big role.
Yeah, I've talked to coaches in the past that were psychology majors, and I could kind of understand the correlation between that and becoming a coach. But for a player to do it, that, again, absolutely awesome. Playing with somebody, you mentioned Shannon before, and I call it, it's not a volleyball technical term, I've said it a million times on here, but organized chaos when you have a setter like that, plus when you have options like you guys do. But playing with a setter like Shannon, yes, she will make you forget anything that bad happened before. I can just tell by her energy. But what does that do for you individually, but just as a team with the setter that has so many options, but is literally controlled running organized chaos?
Yeah, I think Shannon just does a good job of having trust in people. And, if someone is having a hard day, she won't just ice them out. She will, give them another chance, like make them, kind of get out of that rut. I think she does a good job of trying to like help people out, like see who needs more help and kind of help them out. And yeah, you know, she's a lefty, physical. No one knows what she's gonna do. She's unpredictable, and yeah, that works really well for like, you know, the opponents don't know what to do with her. So yeah.
And I see you're also, I love the, you know, I'm sure you guys would never say this to each other, but the individual competition that I look on stats with the aces. So you and Shannon are now tied, and Mary is right behind you guys. So, I mean, obviously it's a healthy competitiveness, but is there a little bit of kind of like, you know, banter with who has, you know, the most of this and that?
Yeah. Not really. I don't look at the stat. I don't look at those stats. So
I knew she was going to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know that, but that's awesome. I mean, honestly, as more people we can get is better, you know, like, yeah. Yeah. We don't really talk about that kind of stuff.
I will say this, Marta, from the broadcaster nerd standpoint, like I figured out that you guys, the aces you've had this year, you've won 2 matches on ace points alone. So, I mean, which is obviously a great advantage when coaches talked about your strong serve. Lastly, before I get you out of here, I mean, like I said, I talked about revenge. You had a 5-setter here with USC, which you got the victory, and then went over to Mullet and controlled UCLA, beat them in 3. You've been through the Pac-12, but now going back, headed back to LA, but going back through the second time, what's always the biggest challenge, and what's going to be the biggest challenge this weekend in LA?
I think for us now, it's kind of playing super inconsistent and showing up every game, because now that, you know, we're ranked and we've had some good wins, everyone is going to try to go all out. And as soon as we kind of let the opponents control the game, I think that's when it can get tough. And especially this weekend, definitely won't underestimate any of them. We'll, you know, keep going. And we know they're a really good team, and they've been playing, both of those teams have been playing better lately. So it's kind of, you know, it's a new go around.
So, yeah, I mean, to overstate the obvious, I mean, the second time through the Pac-12, because for years, I mean, growing up watching Pac-12 volleyball and being around it, like, look, there are great teams out there, but as a conference, it's tough. But going through the second time, I got to think it's even from what you're just saying now, even a little bit more exhausting and more challenging.
It is, yeah. Just because, you know, also just the pressure, like we beat them once and now we have to do it again. So there's definitely a lot of like pressure around that.
And then speaking of the rankings, I know coaches always say, yeah, if you're winning, you know, coaches can say, I could care less, because if we do our job and we're winning, we'll be rewarded. But do you feel that other teams kind of, when they see you, you know, ranked and keep coming higher, use that as more motivation to play against you guys?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, I think people see us as like a good target of like kind of getting their own ranked wins. And, you know, we're not like, you know, I don't know, Stanford, they're very, very, have been very consistent up until us. But, you know, so I think they're definitely think that they could beat us. So I think all of the teams are going to go all out, and that's not going to be easy.
Well, speaking of going all out, they always do. So you need to come watch. I mean, hey, if you're in the LA area this weekend, Friday, Sunday, go check them out against beating up on, in my eyes, hopefully beating up on USC and UCLA again. But Marta, again, congratulations, obviously, on the Player of the Week award. I know, like you said, it's a team thing, but congratulations on getting it. And you're also, so I noticed this because it is a weekly award, and she doesn't look at stats, so I'm glad I can geek out about the nerd stats. So tops in kills, tied for first in aces, and fourth in digs, which your defense has been phenomenal. So yeah, but keep not looking, and I'll keep up with it because it helps me. But we're gonna get out of here on Pitchfork Lunch. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Again, get out to well, again, they're away this weekend, but there's a match coming up soon down at that school down south. There's a little bit more to take care of before that, but we want to go invade that building and turn them maroon and gold. But that being said, again, thank you everybody for watching. I will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel for Pitchfork Lunch. And if you missed it, again, if you're just joining, you're a slacker. But hey, I got you covered. You can watch the replay of it. So for Marta Levinska, I'm Michael Kertzman. We're going to get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
They score. They tie the game up 2-2.
Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side. pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls off. And Arizona State wins it. Edwards pulls off and buries it.
Daniels takes the shot